So this Show Me video is about adding value to a drawing. I'm going to show you a step-by-step approach which you can use to add realistic shading to your drawing. The more you practice it, obviously, the better you're going to get at it. So let's begin. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my subject. In this case, it's a shiny shoe. And I'm going to locate those areas which are the brightest areas. Now, if we use a 10-step value scale going from 0 or no values, white, to 10 or 100% black, obviously going through 1, 10%, 2, 20%, 3, 30% black until we get to 100% black, I'm now going to look for an area that is pretty much in the 0, 1, 2, and even 3 areas because I want to heighten the overall contrast. When I'm all done with my drawing, I'm looking for 40% of my drawing to be black. I'm looking for 40% of my drawing to be white. And I'm looking for only 20% to be different values of gray. That's really important because if you just do exactly what you see, it'll probably come out more than 20% gray, and as a result, it'll be really, really flat looking. Okay, so I'm going to start by finding areas that I see are in the 0, 1, 2, or if you prefer, 0%, 10%, 20% gray. And I see one here, and I'm trying to go around it with great accuracy, lightly with my pencil or charcoal. You need to make sure that you do use a light touch when you're doing these light values because you don't want it to look like in some way this area has been scorched. So I'm going to go along now and I'm going to find any small areas and make sure to draw them using absolutely as perfect as I can get outer contour on them. No light area is insignificant. Okay, this is significant right here. Because it forms a barrier between the shadow underneath and the shoe. All right, now if you take a look, the paper is actually reflecting onto the shoe. Now obviously you're going to be a lot more exact than I am using a stylus on an iPad. But I'm giving you the main idea. Don't forget this area on the edge of the shoe that I did over here, because that also gives you a sense of where the inside of the shoe, where I'm drawing right now, meets the front edge, the area closest to you, the foreground of the shoe. So as you can see, I'm capturing every light area as I go. Nothing is insignificant. Now you'll see that I'm actually into like the 40% or the 4 values. That's fine. Without light, you won't have the shoe looking like it's popping off your paper. All right, so I've captured a lot of the light areas, and now I'm going to switch to my dark areas. Now my dark areas, I'm going to make sure to draw around also with very, very accurate outer contour. Now with these areas, I have to be very careful not to overrun any light areas, because if you take a look at the arrow I've just drawn here, you'll see that there is a light area there that can become a gray at a later point. So now I take those black areas and I fill them in totally with black. Filling in those areas totally with black. that I believe should be the darkest values. And if I find a light area along the way, I can definitely go back and do an outer contour of those. Notice that I'm being very careful not to overrun any light areas. Okay, I see there's an important light area here that I missed, so I'm going to put that back in. Okay, so now at this point, your job is to put in the gray areas. In order to put in the gray areas, you're going to take the black that you put in and you're going to smear it toward the areas of the white. You don't want to lose the white areas. The white areas being those areas that are zeros, ones, twos, threes. So shading always follows the curve of the object. It'll look much, much better if you have something that follows the curve of the object when you add your shade and shadow. You can see how even this really kind of tentative drawing does start to look 3D because I'm using shading that's following its curved shape. So the next thing I'm going to do is take my finger, and if I'm using charcoal, if I'm using pencil or some other smudgeable material, I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to take some of those black areas and I'm going to smudge toward the white areas. All right? Now, probably it's a better idea using a darker gray here to show you how to do that. All right? The idea being that shadows don't look like countries on a map. They do kind of move from white to gray to black. So as we're working, we have to keep in mind that we don't want to lose the white areas, and we do want to put in the gray areas right up to the white areas. All right, and follow the curve of the object. Don't lose your blacks, don't lose your whites. Now, the last thing is, let's pay attention to the shadow down here, because if we put in that shadow correctly, it'll make the shoe pop. All right, I'm going along here and I'm putting in the shadow. Obviously, this looks better with drawing material than using what I'm using. But you can see that very quickly I'm able to get something in here that does look rather 3D. It's making the tip of the shoe pop. And then, of course, you would continue to put in the shadows here and here using whatever is necessary. That's why it's so important to have this light area there, because otherwise, when you put in this dark value for the shadow, you wouldn't actually be able to tell where the dark value of the shoe is. It would just melt together. So we don't want to do that. All right, so it looks as though you're ready to begin. Go ahead and grab your drawing materials and go for it. Bye.